Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dixon. Today we'll be checking out a video of a man who had 3 children only to discover for the fact that his wife cheated on him and they are not his. Now he's suing them and we'll be checking out this video. But before we do that, my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by July. It's a big goal, but I need your help to do that. So please go down there and hit the subscribe button and I'll wait for you to do that. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get into the video.
When he said to me, "You've got cystic fibrosis," I immediately thought, oh my God, my sister died of that at 29. And her death was very hard for me because with cystic fibrosis, you slowly suffocate on your own phlegm. And it took her 2 years to eventually, waiting for a heart and lung transplant. And then she died on the operating theatre. So immediately I was just very saddened by that. But then when the discussion then turned to fertility, and he said, look, yourself and Emma, you're going to have difficulty having children because you are, as a man with cystic fibrosis, infertile. It was suddenly like being hit by a sledgehammer. I just went, oh my God. You suddenly realise that children aren't yours. So I said, well,
immediately you knew the significance of what he just said to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Both of you?
There were medical experts in the room, and it's impossible without IVF for a man with cystic fibrosis to have a baby.
So then I said, well, you must have the diagnosis wrong because I've already got 3 boys. But I sort of was like clutching at straws there. So after that, it became a complete blur for me because it was almost like, I don't know if you've ever hit your head really, really hard and it's like a ringing and you just, you can't see anything that's going on around you, you can't think of anything that's going on around you. It's almost like you just have this ringing in your ears, and it's all the implications of everything as a result of that start, flashing through your mind.
Like what kind of questions are you then immediately asking yourself?
He just wanted to go straight to phone Kate, his ex-wife, say, Kate, spare me the dignity, just tell me the truth. Was there anyone?
Imagine after 20 years discovering your children are not yours. Wow, that's a lot of emotions to hold. At least if she had told him earlier, he would have known, okay, I don't have any children out of my own loins. It's more or less better than discovering this after 20 years. It's crazy.
Anyone else?
When I'd managed to compose myself, it was about an hour later, I sent her a text and I said, look, and this text has been in the press, but it was actually repeated verbatim from what I sent to her, and it's still on my phone now. I said to her, look, I've just been diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. I'm not expecting you to be sympathetic about that because she's a very hard person. But the reason I'm telling you is that the boys are not likely to have been fathered by me. Now, obviously, there's something's gone on. And if you are honest about it with me, I don't intend to sue you. And you can decide how you want to tell the boys. If you want me to be there at the same time, that's fine. But if you lie to me, then I will take action and I'll decide how I'm telling the boys. And the immediate response I got back was, I am sympathetic, but whatever science says, those boys will always be yours.
Those boys will...
She didn't even have the courtesy to admit it. Now I understand.
Will always be yours.
Which was
slightly different than saying you are definitely the dad. When you were diagnosed, your sons were 21 and the twins were 17, I think.
Yes.
When your then wife was pregnant on those occasions, did you ever suspect, have any inkling, ever think, oh, that's a bit odd, at the time of the pregnancy, through the birth, afterwards?
There was 1 or 2 occasions that after the boys were born, I thought that they didn't resemble me as much as, you'd imagine that boys would.
They didn't look like you?
Well, they've got darker eyes than me. I'd have almost no body hair. And the boys have got very dark hairs on their legs and things like that. But around the time that she got pregnant, we'd been having unprotected sex for 7 years. Nothing had happened. Now, she always said to me, I have a tilted womb. I don't know what that is, but it means that it's harder for a woman to get pregnant. So we'd always thought it was her. And we'd gone for fertility treatment or to see the GP to start the fertility process. And the GP said, well, the first thing that has to happen is you have to be tested, Mr. Mason, and then we test your wife. Now, it's likely to be 3 occasions of IVF that you're going to need. They're about £5,000 a time, so it's £15,000. But after that, there's a good chance you will have a baby. So when we went home, we both were working at Barclays at the time, and she said, look, you know, we've got our careers. We're both, I mean, yuppies was like in the 80s, a, you know, really like popular term for young people who were doing well in their careers. She said, we're both yuppies, let's just carry on with our careers and see how it goes. A few months later, she was pregnant. So I thought, oh my God, that's...
I guess she discovered a long time ago that the fault is not from her, and she just more or less started having affairs. Rather one affair, probably.
weird because, you know, you often hear of people going for treatment and then suddenly naturally get pregnant. And she said, oh, it's just one of those things. So I did feel a little bit like that's a surprise, you know, because we go for to start the IVF, then decide not to, and she gets pregnant.
This is, I mean, you've described the turmoil, you've described it feeling like you were hit with a sledgehammer. Did you consider taking your own life?
Many times. The consultant said to me once, cystic fibrosis kicks in, and I'm one of the...
But do you guys think that's an appropriate question to ask? Because she's leaning more towards favoring the lady than the man. It's like he's trying to say he's not stable. Let's just watch.
The oldest people in the UK with cystic fibrosis, and probably the oldest person ever that I know of to be diagnosed with it.
The average death is 41, and most children die of it a lot younger, like his sister as well, at 29.
So you know that you've not got a particularly pleasant future.
How did the knowledge then of discovering that your boys couldn't be yours affect the way you felt towards them, if at all?
They're still my boys, and I still think of them as my sons now, as I have been their dad.
Do you love them as much?
You can't not love somebody simply because, in fact, you know...
This woman is trying to make this man look like a bad person, because if he even contemplates for a second to say his love for them has a little doubt, then he starts looking like the bad guy. But which man will end up discovering that his children are not his, will not feel bad? Granted, he will still love the children, but that disappointment is not towards them, it's towards the wife, the woman who deceived him all this while. They are his children by adoption, but they are not from him. The love will always be there. It will not die. But the reality is there that they are not his. And this woman keeps pointing the question in a way to make this man look bad.
Even, you know, if somebody committed some sort of offence against you, if the boys had done something wrong, I'd still love them. You know, but they've done absolutely nothing wrong. They're completely innocent in this as well. They are the victim, like I am. So, yes. Of course, yeah, my arms are still open for them, and I would dearly love them to, you know, to come back into my life.
Well, two of them, I understand, aren't in your life because they are cross that you sued your ex-wife, Kate. It's paternity fraud, you said. You've won this court case, this settlement of 200...
You can hear from her voice, she's trying to phrase everything very well so that she doesn't throw shade on the woman. This woman is really trying hard not to make the criminal seem like a criminal.
£250,000 from your wife. Why would you risk your relationship with your boys when you say you are their dad, you love them as much, by going ahead with that legal action?
Is that the question you should be asking?
Always brought my boys up to be honest, stand up to bullies, never tell lies. All the time, I was divorced from her for 10 years, and all the time they were with me, all the weekends that they were round at my house, I used to say to them, look, do not keep any secrets from your mum. Yes. Be open and honest with her. You know, anything I do, anything I say, I don't mind your mum knowing about it, because I want an open, honest relationship with them.
To support what this man is saying, when you show your children that, okay, when somebody does something evil against me and I just let it go, you are normalizing evil. So he's more or less teaching them that whenever something evil is done against you, you have to retaliate, not necessarily to the same extent, but to call it out so that it doesn't become normalized. And that is what he has taught his children. And I feel that is what he is trying to also do now. You cannot carry me along for 20 years and not get any form of repercussion. You've lied to me all through. You have to pay in some extent. And that's a very good practice, or else you normalize evil.
So I brought them up to be open, honest, stand up to what you think is right. Somebody committed a 21-year fraud against
but not
me.
them. And now you've lost two of them. They're not in your
But the
way.
point is, how do I allow somebody who's committed something like that against me, my ex-wife, to just go off scot-free? Because there are many times...
Because the risk is you lose two of them, and that's what's happened.
But they're grown.
If he ends up losing them, then they are not matured enough. They are not worthy of being his son. Because no man will see this kind of evil and not request justice to be done, regardless of whether it's my mother or not. If my mother scammed my father and he wants retaliation, I will hands off.
Grown men. They're grown men.
Exactly.
They understand that I have to take action against it.
In families, when there's been tragedy or anything like this, history tends to repeat itself through generations. And Richard wants to ensure that those boys don't think this is normal behaviour.
She was completely denying that I wasn't the biological father. So up until the court case only a few weeks ago, she was still saying, even with DNA evidence, I'm sorry, the DNA evidence must be flawed.
And the court case
You're the
has
biological
absolutely
father.
settled that, yeah.
So if I am the biological father, those boys all have a risk of having cystic fibrosis. They all need to tell their insurance companies. They need to tell their potential partners, their children.
The person who offended him is not even sympathetic to the whole ordeal. And he is doing it for the sake of his own children. They have to know.
Children might have cystic fibrosis. I wouldn't even be allowed to meet them because people with cystic fibrosis cannot meet other people with cystic fibrosis because they cross-infect. Right. So by going via my solicitor, finally, she then, a few weeks ago, said, actually, I accept. You're not the biological father. The boys have got no chance of having cystic fibrosis from me. I can meet them now, and they're free of knowing that they've got a potential genetic disease.
Understood. Do you know who the father is?
I've no idea.
I would like to know him.
Why have you offered a £5,000 rewards to find out?
I was toying with that as a strategy because what I feel like is 2/5 of my life, 20-odd years of my life, have been a complete lie. The person I thought I was, I'm not. The relationship I had with the boys is not the same as I thought it was. A wife that I thought was loyal, but I had to divorce because we didn't get on, was not. So what I want to do is sit down with this guy and say, were you there in their life? When I was watching them play football, were you there? Did you buy them Christmas presents? How did you deal with the first pregnancy? You know,
it's a very sad situation because, like he said, he has to know. Rather, he needs to know because my question, if I was in his shoes, will be, did you know they were your children? So, in other words, you let another man train your children up and you are proud of that. In short, he is also part of the scam. So, I'm like, so you more or less offloaded your whole responsibility to me and you saw me suffering and you kept it going like that. So, I think he also, if he wants to see the man and ask those questions, I guess everybody owes him that fact for him to do that, because as it is now, he's not supposed to be asked all these stupid questions like he's overdoing things. He hasn't killed anybody, he hasn't beaten anybody, he hasn't done anything crazy. So this is not a good situation to be in. To mitigate this, just have what they call it, DNA tests. Once you suspect your children don't look like you, just have DNA tests. The world has gotten too polluted for us to trust people like this. If you notice your children don't have any traits that resemble yours, just have DNA test and get it over with. Don't leave it for the long run. Then after you have that truth revealed, then you deal with whatever consequence that comes with that. Anyhow, that is the end of the video, I think. If you want to watch the rest, he still has some minutes or seconds to talk. Well, you can. I will be linking the video down below. So please like, share, and subscribe, and I will bring you another video. Till next time. Bye bye.